Okay, so this is the third time recording this video. Thanks to this computer really not enjoying screen capture and showing you anything on After Effects. So basically, you've joined me today because you want to learn how to chroma key in green screen, and you've seen this video and you thought that looks cool. Show me how to do it, Ollie. And that's what I'm going to do today, folks. So you've watched the video, and we'll be pulling something that looks similar to this off. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I'm going to do is just delete everything down here and delete everything here, so you can see how I did all this starting from the beginning. So yeah, After Effects is open. What I'm going to do is just import, go to right click, import, and I'm going to import the Axeman throw and this background layer here, and I'm going to hit OK, and there they are, we've got them. Now I'm going to create a new composition by clicking this button here and calling it practice, because it's always good practice to rename our compositions. I'm going to go to preset and choose HDTV 1080-25. This is a HDTV 1080 by 1920 at 25 frames per second composition, and I'm going to make sure my duration is set to 10 seconds. Not 10 minutes or 10 milliseconds, but 10 seconds. My background color is black, and I'm going to hit OK, and voila. Now what I'm going to do is get started. So I'm going to drag this background layer there, and I'm going to drag our Axeman above it. Like, oh, come on. Like so. There we go. And we've got a finished composition, and we're ready to go home. Done. No, joking aside, now we've got some funny things happening. You can see here the background looks too zoomed in, and our Axeman, well, he's just fine, he's chilling. However, if we zoom back a little bit here, we can see this is the background. It is humongous. So I'm going to sort that out first by clicking the background layer, making it active, hitting S to bring up scale, and reducing the scale to around about there, 46. It's a good number. There we go, everything's back in order. So I'm going to leave everything like that for now, and let's get started. We're going to key out this green screen, so that's the next job. So on the right hand side, I've got my effects and presets open. I'm going to type in key light 1.2, happy days. I'm going to drag that onto our Axeman, not the background, but the Axeman. Easier and more efficient to just drag it down here. We know we're definitely putting it in the right place. What I'm going to do now is go over to screen color, click on this little color picker here, and I'm going to choose a light area of this green screen to give us the best key possible. There we go, we are done. That is the tutorial over and out. No, not quite. As you can see, if I zoom in, we've got some strange imperfections happening, and areas where our character actually goes quite transparent. This is a good frame to pause on to illustrate what I'm on about. Now we can see this a lot better if we turn off our background and we turn on our transparency grid, which is just here. So that's actually looks pretty good, but then we turn this on and boom, we're like ghosting in so many places. So with that in mind, now what I'm going to do is drop down this screen matte button here, and this is primarily where we're going to be working for the rest of this key. And I want to get rid of all this transparency stuff because it doesn't look good. So I'm going to reduce the clip white. Earlier on I did this, and 29 was a good number. And yeah, still pretty good, and I'm happy with that. Now the problem we've got at this point is our green screen starting to look a little bit horrific. Can we see this all coming through here? And we want to get that sorted. Whoa, look at the base. We want to get all that sorted. So we're going to increase our clip black. And earlier on I did this as well, and 25 looked good. Now if our number of clip black exceeds the clip white, this is what happens, and we don't want that to happen, so be careful. I'm going to go to about there. Now we're not perfect at this point. We've got some strange things happening there, but that's fine because we can do what's called a garbage matte in a little bit, which will actually get rid of all that kind of stuff. But to be fair, on myself and my computer, we're not going to see that anyway in the composition I'm making. So this is where you can get a little bit cheeky and skip over some things with bad practice. But no, in all seriousness, you don't have to follow what I'm saying here. This is all about your preference and tweaking and all the rest of it. So right now we want to address some of this janky edges that we've got going on here and look at how we can get rid of that. So we've got this strange border going around him, and to illustrate that border more, if I turn on our black background, you can see it a lot more. So we're going to go over here to screen softness, and we're going to increase that by a tiny fraction. 0.5 is good. Just takes out a little bit of that chopped out look, because we don't want that. We're not going for that in this video. I'm also going to decrease the screen shrink, and what that does is it just pulls it back. Can you see what's happening there? If I go too far, we get some of that strangeness happening. But if I just go in a little bit, minus 0.8 in this case, just makes it look a little bit better. Before, after, before, after, before, after. You get the idea. So at this point, I can bring back our background and see how this is looking. Now, I've watched this video 4 times now of me doing this exact same process, so I'm happy with it. Looks good enough to move on to the next stage. So at this point, he looks a bit like a giant walking on the ground and throwing an axe, and that's not the effect we're going for. Giants and not the aesthetic we're going for. So I've got my Axeman, I've hit S again to bring up scale, and I'm just going to scale him down. I did this earlier on, 61 looked about right. And I'm just going to drag him over here, like so. Thinking of my rule of thirds, he walks into the rule of thirds. Nice composition. Now looking at it again, I'm not really happy with the scale of him. Always make sure when you're filming a clean plate and you're filming a green screen that you pay attention to the lens that's used, because that also plays a big effect here. We've got a very wide angle lens, and he's not been filmed with a wide angle lens. So we're going to have some inherent issues, but looking at the grass underneath his feet, I think it's relative. If he's around about this size, I think it's fine. I will let myself off. Drag him down a little bit. Happy days. He throws it. There we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is bring him out a little bit, and to do that I'm going to add some depth of field to this scene, and at the moment it's all very sharp, which isn't the effect that we're going for. So what I'm going to do now is right click in our composition window, go to new, adjustment layer, and the adjustment layer adjusts everything underneath it, and we don't want the Axeman to be affected. I just want the background. So adjustment layer there. I'm going to rename this adjustment layer to blur as well. Just to rename your layers, you just activate them by selecting them, press enter. And I'm going to now go over here and I'm going to choose a Gaussian blur. And I'm going to make sure that's on the blur adjustment layer. And we're going to go up to something like 30. No, a bit too much. 25. A bit better. 21. Perfect. Going to repeat edge pixels just in case we've got some strange vignetting going on. We don't, but it's just in case. Now what I want to do is simulate depth of field, and the quickest way to do this in this case is we're going to mask on top of our blur. So again, with the blur layer selected, I'm going to click on this rectangle tool button, and I'm going to just draw a little rectangle around his feet area like this, because this is the plane we want in focus, and that's the wrong way around, so we're going to click inverted, and that's going to do the right thing. And if I click on these little toggle mask shape path visibility button here, you can turn that on and off so we can see what's happening. Now, if I leave these off for a second, this looks far too sharp. Look at this, gross. So let's work on that. So we want to feather the edges so it blends a little bit more. To do that, we're going to drop down our mask 1, go over to mask feather. We're going to increase the feather slightly. And again, this is all about where you think visually it's going to work. For me, that looks quite nice. But because I've feathered up, I've gone higher here and lower here. So to get some of that back, we're going to increase our path, or decrease our path, should I say. Not too much, because if we do it too much, can you see it sort of going over where his feet were? And again, we lose that effect. We start to take our audience out of it. So something like that looks quite nice. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so we've created a bit of depth of field. Not perfect, but you know, pretty good. Good enough for this demonstration to get you thinking about all these things. Okay, what I'm going to do now is actually colour correct him slightly. I want him to blend in more with this background, and this background is very saturated and very vibrant, and he's not. He's been lit well, but he's not very vibrant at this point, so let's make him a bit more vibrant. To do that, I'm going to type in Lumetri color, and I'm going to drag this onto him, and all I'm going to do at this point is drop down the basic correction, and where it says temperature, I'm just going to increase that. boost it to there. 73. What a good number. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. I fiddled around with this a lot more earlier on, but ultimately I'm going to tell you why I've left it. At this point, I can't really see how much contrast is in this scene because everything that has some form of contrast to it is quite far away. So I'm gonna let him get away with how much contrast is in him, and we're going to adjust the whole scene together later on. So at this point, now's the time to add those cinematic letterboxes. So to do that, we're going to go to New Solid, and we're going to just, make comp size. Black solid is fine. I'm just going to call this letterbox top. Make comp size, hit OK, and I'm just going to bring these down here to about there. That's good. Now with letterbox top selected, I'm going to hit P to bring up position and adjust in this parameter. I'm going to drag this to the top because it's letterbox top. And we're just going to duplicate this letterbox top by hitting Command D or Control D on a Windows, and again hit Enter, and this one is going to be bottom. And again we're going to hit P to bring up the position, and this time we're going to go the opposite way. So about there. Cool. Now you'll be thinking to yourself, well, Ollie, he's, it's not a very good composition. We're like missing half of him, and I'd agree. So we're going to select those 3 layers. And with all 3 selected, we're going to move him into position a bit better, like so. I don't mind if his feet are cut off at this point because they're not cut off when he's walking in here. So I don't know, I just like that a little bit more. And if we want to adjust the letterboxes at this point, you can do as well. Just using the up and down arrows, if you want to give them more space. Like something like that, it's looking good. Already looking a lot more anamorphic and cinematic as a result. So we're nearly at the end of this tutorial, and I'm sure you're happy about that. So what we're going to do is create another new adjustment layer, and this adjustment layer is going to go underneath the letterboxes because I don't want those letterboxes to be affected by any of the color correction I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab Lumetri color one more time, drag it onto this top adjustment layer, and I'm going to put this as overall CC. So this is going to affect the Axeman, the blur, and all the rest of it. And basically what I want to do at this point, going into basic correction, I want to just desaturate it all slightly, increase the temperature, not all of it, give it that nice sepia look. And the shadows, I'm going to pull them out ever so slightly just to reveal a little bit more detail in his clothing. And that's what I'm going to do for that. What I'm going to do at this point is another adjustment layer, and I want to create now a film faded look, one of my favourite kind of looks in film cinema. So I'm going to again go to adjustment layer, and I'm just going to call this film faded look. And I'm going to achieve this by typing in curves. And I'm going to drag that onto the film faded look. And to achieve this, we're just going to drag the contrast up slightly, and I'm just going to pull down on it again. Ever so slightly. Like there. That looks cool. So if you want to see what this gives us, this is before, after, before, after. I think it finishes off the scene beautifully. If you don't agree, that's fine. We all have different opinions. So that is how I've created this scene for this week's tutorial. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think underneath in the comments section, and have fun using Keylight and making some cool compositions. It was Red Giant that supplied us with the Axeman, and it was Pexels where we got this lovely background layer. So thank you to them. See you all in the next video, folks. Thank you.